Okay, so we were into networking. We were doing a client server, making a connection, trying to send data and all that. We'll continue from where we stopped last day. Okay, we were over here. We were trying to make a connection between Alice and Bob and then send a message called hello Bob. Okay, have a question. Have a question. Create a TCP IP client server connection. Create a client server TCP IP connection and send a message typed in from the keyboard, typed in through the keyboard from client to server. Hope the question is clear, Harniza.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is our earlier program. We'll continue with that. You have your client over here, you have your server over here, you have made connections through a port called 456. You've made a connection, and what you're doing is earlier you were trying to send in an inbuilt message called hello Bob. Now I do not want to send hello Bob. Instead, I want to get something from my keyboard. Okay, now let me get something from my keyboard. For that, I'll have a data input stream. Let's say din is equal to new data input stream. Okay, I am planning to get things from my keyboard. So I write system.in. Let me give an SOP to ask me something. I'll have an SOP over here. I'll have an SOP. Enter your message to the server. Okay, they're asking me enter my message, and now I've got to read my message. I'll read it into a string. Let's say string str is equal to what is it? din. Yeah, din dot read line. I'm reading my message, and I will not be outputting hello Bob. Instead of hello Bob, I am planning to output str, which I did read in through my keyboard. I'll just save my program. We'll run a program. I'll run my server first. Okay, Bob is listening for connection. Now I'll run my client. Okay, enter your message to the server. So I'm saying hello, hi Runiza. Okay, and I give an enter. Yeah, I get a message in my server. Message from Alice is hello, hi Runisa. Okay, look here, you can see which is the client, which is the server. See the first line over here. This is the client part where I'm giving the message from my keyboard, and this is my server part. Look here, terminated Soxer. I'm getting a message from Alice, because Alice was my client. They're telling hello, hi Runisa. So this is how you give in things through the keyboard. Have a question. Implement a client server chatting through TCP IP. Client server chatting, or chatting, one-to-one chatting between two people through the TCP IP. I'll just share a Word document. Can you see a Word?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, what do you mean by chatting? What do you mean by chatting? Hi, Nisa, what do you mean by chatting?
Sending messages.
It's just sending messages. Is it only sending messages?
അങ്ങോട്ട് സംസാരിക്കാൻ യൂസ് ചെയ്യണം.
Okay. My notion of chatting is you will be sending messages and you will also be receiving messages, which means Alice and Bob, okay, Alice and Bob, both of them should be able to send messages and receive messages. Alice should be able to send a message and receive a message. Bob should also be able to send a message and receive a message. This is actually what is chatting. It is not one way, it is two way. Okay. Now let's say I have a client. And I've even got a server, Alice and Bob. Okay. Now the client should be able to, okay, I'll write the client things over here. Client should be able to receive input from the keyboard. Agreed? He should be able to receive input from the keyboard. The messages he receives from the keyboard, he should be able to send it through an output stream to the server. Okay, so this is what the client should be able to do. The server, what should he be able to do? He should be receiving the message from the client through the input server, through the input stream. Okay, the client, he is giving things to the server through the output stream. The server, that same message from the client, he should be able to receive it through the input stream and then of course display it. He should be able to display it. Now client sending messages and this guy receiving messages is okay. Now the same way, the server, he should be able to receive input from the keyboard, send it through an output stream to the client. Agreed? He should be able to send it to the client, and the client, he should be able to receive the message from the server through the input stream and display it back. So all these are done, I say a chatting is complete, which means client, he should receive input from the keyboard, give it to the server. Okay, he should be able to even receive message from the server and then display it. Server, he should be able to receive it from the client, display it, and even receive it from the keyboard and then send it. I'll just highlight a few things. Client should be able to receive, okay, client should be able to send it, and client should be able to receive it. Okay, this guy, he should be able to receive it and he should be even able to send it. Now I say both the client Alice and Bob are able to send and receive messages. This is actually the concept of chatting. Both people should be able to send and receive. Okay, so now we are planning to do a chatting between the client and the server. So all what I've done till now is I've created a socket and then I'm waiting for a connection. Now I'll create a data input stream. Now I will have to create two data input streams. One is, I'll write it kin, to read in from the keyboard, to read in from the keyboard. So I'll write data input stream is equal to new data input stream system dot in. Okay, this is to read from the keyboard. Okay, now I need to read something from the keyboard and then give it to my server. Okay, so now for that I do have a data input stream called kin. Now I'll even have one more data input stream, data input stream, let's say to read from the socket, to read from the server socket. I have something called SIN, simply because it is reading from the socket. Okay, is equal to new data input stream. I am not reading from my keyboard. Instead, I will be reading it from my socket. Okay, so what is my socket? My socket is S. Okay, I'll just give it a better name. This is a client socket, so I'll give CS so that you can understand it better. Okay, get input stream. Okay, this is to read from the socket. Which socket? The socket I've created. Okay, now I've got two data input streams, one to read from my keyboard and one to read from the server socket. Okay, I'll just be more specific over here, to read from my server socket. I should even have an output stream, data output stream, let's say D out, or I'll have S out. Okay, S out is equal to new data output stream, new data output stream, CS dot, because I'll be outputting things, data output stream. Okay. This is for what? This is to give output to my server socket. Okay, now so all my input and output has been taken care of. I can get input from my keyboard, I can even get input from my socket, and then whatever I get I will be able to give it that side. I'll just copy paste all this. Okay, I'll copy paste it later. It's not out.close, sout.close, cs.close. Okay, so those errors are taken care of. Now let us do the display, do the chatting. Now chatting, it will go on and on. As long as you want, you can chat. So I'll have an infinite loop. I'll have a loop, let's say, while true. Okay, I'll go on chatting till, let's say, till I feel I should stop. Okay, now whatever I get from my server, I should be reading it. So imagine I'm getting things through my SIN, so I'll be reading it. It will be in a UTF format. Okay, SIN dot read UTF. I'll read it. I'll do an SIN string str. Okay, string str. Str is equal to, I've read whatever has come from my server. I have read it. I'll even have an SOP to display that, to display what I've read. Okay, let's see. Server says what plus str. Okay, so whatever my server tells, I am now displaying. That will not do. I'll have to even read things from my keyboard. So I'll give one more SOP, Control C, Control V, enter. Okay. Enter data for the server. Okay. Now I'm reading in something from my keyboard. Now I'll just do my normal things. str is equal to, I'm reading in kin, kin dot readline, the code which we did earlier, readline, and then give it out. SOU, sout dot give it out. To give it out, I will write UTF what str. Okay, so that will do. So all what I've done here is whatever is coming from my server, I've read it, I've outputted it, and even I am receiving in something from my keyboard, and whatever I receive in from my keyboard, I am outputting it to my server. Okay. Okay. Now I'll write my server side. Okay. I already have a socket. I'm listening for connections. I accepted the connection, all that. I'll just copy all these. Okay. I have a kin to read from my keyboard. I'll just give different names so that, okay. To read from my keyboard, I have a din. Okay. To read from my client socket, I have a sin. Okay. Now to give output to my client socket, client socket, I have sout, and I even have a string. Okay. I'll just copy the same things over here. It's the same thing which is going to happen. Same thing happening at both the client side. We'll go line by line. You go on chatting. str is equal to sin dot read UTF. You read. It's not the server telling. It is the client says blah, blah, blah. Enter data for the client. Enter data for the client. I read in things through my keyboard, and then I even output it. Kin. I didn't have a kin. What was that? I changed name over here. Oh, I made it a din. Okay. So have it a din. CS. I don't have a CS over here. What do I have? I have an SS over here. Not SS. S. S dot get input stream. Just give it another name. Okay. Accepting socket is S. The server socket is SS. Okay. SS. This is the accepting socket. AS. Okay. So this will be AS. This will also be AS. Okay. Things look good. Okay. I'll save both my programs. We'll have a terminating thing like by. So I read, client says okay, and then I'll have like, you know, if str dot equals by. Okay. Whenever my string is equal to by, I'll break. Okay. If my string equals to by, I will break. Okay. So that same thing I will even have over here. After writing, I will have it over here. I'll save my program. I'll even have the same over here. In my client program, reading. Okay. Server says, so before that, I'll have if equals to by break, enter data or by, enter data or by for the server. read it. Okay, Control V. Okay, so that is why these were recognized as unreachable code, because you were never getting out of the loop. Server.